CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way. IBM. And by RCA, technology that excites the senses.
We're back in Cleveland Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. At halftime, the Browns and the Detroit Lions tied up at 7-7, but it almost was a 14-7 game in favor of Cleveland. With 2 seconds to go in the first half, Bernie Kosar drifted back, and Pat Hayden tried the Big Ben toss.
And it almost was caught by Reggie Langhorne, number 88. You're going to see him trailing the play, which is right in the position that you want to be. The first receiver wants to pop the ball up, which what happens, and then Langhorne almost makes the catch.
Nevertheless, it fell short. And as a result of that incompleted pass, we are tied, as we said, 7-7. In the first half, I think one of the stories has been for the Lions their lack of turnovers thus far.
Well, they had a 5 a week ago, none in the first half. And remember, some of it has to do with protection, because Eric Hipple fumbled 3 times last week after he was being hit. But that has been the difference. That's why Detroit is in the ball game, because Cleveland is really the better team.
No turnovers so far, and Eric Hipple on a real hot streak. He hit 13 of 14 at one point, wound up with only 3 incompleted passes, and tossed his first touchdown pass of the year when he found Leonard Thompson on the perfect timing play.
This was absolutely perfect timing. This was a fake, kind of a deep pass, a fake fade pass, as they call it, but then Thompson turned right around, and that ball was beautifully timed right in the numbers. Thompson couldn't do anything else but catch it.
Well, that tied it up at 7-7. At the outset, we thought one of the problems Cleveland had was their defense against the rush. Turns out it's not the offense or the defense, it's the offense having problems.
The offense has not rushed the ball well here in the first half at all. As you can see, only 13 yards. And I think, Vern, some of this, again, is that offensive philosophy. I don't think those offensive linemen really feel physical, and that's what you need to have a good running game. You need to get in there and punch people, mash people time after time again.
143 yards per game a year ago, 80 so far this year, and only 13 in the first half. That will be of some concern to Marty Schottenheimer. And we are set to go just about with the second half now, a 7-7 game. The Cleveland Browns trying to go 1-2. And Darryl Rogers' team also trying to go 1-2. Interesting what Darryl Rogers told you last night about dividing this season into 2 halves.
Well, he wanted to finish at least 3-3 in the first 6 games, and he said that because his team is so injured. He feels that he is really playing with a short deck, having so many injuries in the offensive line. If he can get through those first 6 games with at least a 3-3 record, he feels at that point he's going to have people healthy. He thinks his offense is really going to come around in those last 10 games. If they can win 7 of those, they can be in the playoffs.
Browns will return to open the second half. Gerald McNeil near the 10. And the Tiny Mite is out to the 25-yard line.
You know, I think one of the things the Browns have to do here, Vern, is get the ball downfield to the wide receivers. Lindy Infante, of course, we've talked about him spreading the players around, but we've seen Kosar really just kind of dink the ball around. I think 9 of his completions were to backs in the first half. They finally have those wideouts with Langhorne and Slaughter with some speed, but they're not giving them the opportunity to catch the ball.
They have a first down at the 25. Score tied at 7-7. Gorgeous day in Cleveland, Ohio. Temperature of 75 degrees. Ernest Miner, no yards on 5 carries in the first half. Kosar, quick screen. Langhorne. Blockers in front. Curtis Dickey tries to get the block on McNorton. And McNorton does a good job of shielding himself from that block and helping out on the tackle with Michael Kofer.
Reggie Langhorne is one of those fellows that Marty Schottenheimer was telling us didn't look fast, but he actually ran 4.3 in the 40-yard dash for them. And again, he's going to hopefully do a large part for their offense, taking the pressure off the tight end position and to get the ball downfield to their outside receivers.
Second down and 4 for the Browns. Biner again, the only setback. Fontenot is wide to the right. Herman Fontenot. Blitz coming. Kofer, Kosar, not too quick. And Keith Ferguson gets his first sack of the day.
Now, this has really been the knock on Bernie Kosar's not being able to avoid a rush. Although in the first half he did step away from the rush a couple of times. Here, it's well defended is really the problem. Give the Detroit defense some credit. There's nowhere for him to go, and that gave Ferguson some time to get there.
That'll bring up a 3rd down and 8. Talked to Art Modell, the Cleveland owner, before the game. He said, Kosar, I love him. He's a great kid, but what's going to make Testaverde ultimately a better quarterback than Bernie is that just that, his mobility.
I may debate you on that.
Okay. 3rd and 8. Oh, dear. John Bostic, number 42, almost picked it off. It'll be a 4th down.
Can I amend my statement? There was a great reaction there by John Bostic. The defensive backs for the Detroit Lions really have very good acceleration. They break on the ball just about as well as anybody in the league. Bostic is right there in the middle of your screen, is trailing Brennan, the receiver. The ball thrown behind Brennan, but he really made a nice break on it, a nice play defensively.
And that brings on Jeff Gossett, who never in his career, either at Eastern Illinois or with a variety of pro teams, has had a punt block. Still hasn't. And that's a dandy. That'll quiet the critics. Manley at the 23. Down to the 29. Mark Harper was one of those. And D.D. Hoggard, number 48, a 50-yard punt. 6 on the return. 14 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. And Detroit has the ball.
It's your money, son. But if you want my advice, buy another Subaru.
Sure, Dad.
I thought we agreed you'd buy a Subaru.
But, Dad, I did.
The Subaru XT, the Sport Magazine Super Bowl MVP award.
Who has transformed video cameras, making them more compact, simpler, more colorful, more fun? Who? RCA, with the new Pro Wonder camcorder, the camera and recorder that uses standard VHS cassettes plus solid-state technology for brighter, more colorful memories. Pro Wonder. If you settle for less than RCA, that's exactly what you'll get.
Draft beer. It's always been the smoothest, freshest beer around, poured straight from the tap. And now there's a true draft beer in a bottle. Miller Genuine Draft. It's not heat pasteurized like most bottled beers. It's cold filtered for real draft smoothness. Miller Genuine Draft. It's beer at its best.
Number 1 draft choice of the Lions, Chuck Long out of the University of Iowa. Won't see action today unless there are 2 injuries, but just a year ago, he was the great quarterback of Hayden Fry's Iowa Hawkeyes. Remember this fake play and touchdown against Michigan State? Michigan State fell to Iowa 35-31. Well, next week, you're going to have a chance to see the rematch as the 15th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes with Mark Vlasic now as the quarterback of the Hawkeyes take on Michigan State and Lorenzo White. That's live at 2:30 Eastern Time next Saturday on CBS.
Well, Vlasic threw for 2 touchdowns yesterday. Long's replacement.
Meanwhile, Eric Hipple has the job as quarterback of the Lions, broken nose and all. Oh, he's a blue-collar quarterback. First down 10 from the 29. That's going to be, I believe, offside against Cleveland or encroachment. Reggie Camp made contact, number 96.
Encroachment, defense, number 96, first down.
Okay, we got 2 hours to find the difference in offside and encroachment.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was a nice job by Hipple in that he set that up because in the first half he was going on an early count. There he comes out in the first play here, long count, drew them offside for the easy 5 yards.
Avoided just like an attorney. Oh, you're going to have a prosperous career in law.
Where'd you get my bill?
First and 5. Right side, James Jones for a couple. And Reggie Camp, number 96, makes the tackle. You had a long talk with Darryl Rogers. They're getting back to the long story. They're, the "we want long" cries going up in the Silverdome. It bothers Eric Hipple, but he says he understands. Rogers says he's not going to play long this year unless he absolutely has to.
And I think he's going to bring them along very slowly, and that's what you need to do. Again, we've talked about the offensive line, how they're struggling right now, a lot of injuries. The worst thing you can do for a high draft pick and a quarterback is to bring him along too quickly against with a team, an offensive line that's going to get him hurt, and he's going to lose his confidence.
Second down and 1, 7-7 ball game. Jones, close, don't know.
And also, I happen to think that Eric Hipple is a very good quarterback. Now, people all in most NFL cities get tired of the quarterbacks, unhappy with the quarterbacks, but you have to remember, Vern, there really only are probably four great quarterbacks in the game today with Marino and Fouts, and Montana is injured. So the rest of them, everybody gets compared to those guys, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. That's what makes those guys great. The other one is Elway I was thinking of, but that's what makes those guys so great. I think he is going to have a very bright future in the NFL. Now, compare his situation with Jimmy Everett out at the Rams, who just signed with the Rams. Now, Everett can play this year because he's on a very good football team, the Rams. He can step into that lineup maybe 6 or 7 weeks from now with a great offensive line, not lose his confidence, hand the ball to Eric Dickerson, dink a couple of passes, and they can bring him along slowly, but while they're doing so, he can be playing.
I think history is filled with shell-shocked potential superstars.
Steve Bartkowski is one of the best college quarterbacks I saw coming out of college football, but was beaten up in Atlanta his first 5 years in the league.
Good point. First down, as you saw for Detroit, 12:50 to go third quarter. 2 wide receivers right side. Hipple keeps it on the ground. And a flag is down. So is James Jones. Reggie Camp, number 96, was the first one there, and Jones lost his helmet.
But you can see there is just nowhere for James Jones to go. This fellow can be a factor in the game if the offensive line can just give him a little bit of a crease. But Darryl Rogers was so concerned about his offensive line that they aren't be able to knock people off the ball.
Face mask. Defense, number 96, 5 yards, replay the down, first down.
That Jones doesn't have anywhere to go. There's no creases there in the Cleveland defensive front, and this is considering that the Cleveland defense has been really vulnerable to the run this year.
6 penalties against the Browns now for 40 yards, and 3 of those penalties have come on this current drive. Now, officials have called timeout while they reset the chain marker. They had moved it prematurely. That's what happened. Of the 3 on the chain gang, 1 had jumped the gun, but the other 2 had stood their ground. So there won't be much of a problem marking where it's supposed to be. That's funny. That's an often overlooked aspect of this game, but those guys have to coordinate what they do on the sideline, the chain gang. There are the 3 of them.
It's interesting how the chain markers and things have evolved, just like the equipment in the NFL has evolved over the years. Remember, Bubba Smith was injured hitting a chain marker years ago, and since that point, they've really tried to make them a lot safer. They've taken away the big stakes, and they've put some padding on them.
Unusual. First down and 3 after the 5-yard penalty. A 2-yard gain. Here's Jones going left. Will not get the first down as he nears midfield. Clay Matthews, number 57. Harvey Salem, number 73, quite a story. Held out, paid a $56,000 fine to the Oilers, then got traded.
It is deductible, though. Number 73, right there in the middle of your screen. He is 6'6", 285 pounds. Now, remember, he is naturally a tackle. He's played very little offensive guard, but this is nice for him. See the way he came off the ball there and knocked at least Griggs initially back, but fell off him. He's used to having someone right on his nose. That's a little bit unusual for him. That's why he probably fell off the block.
Salem's holdout was generated by his desire to play for a West Coast team.
Didn't quite make it. Tough today, too, because Detroit is using so many audibles.
Second down and 1. Play fake. Hipple looks deep. Man coverage. Good job by Hanford Dixon.
You know, Hanford Dixon's had an amazing statistic this year. No receiver has caught a pass for over 10 yards on Hanford Dixon. I was talking to Jerry Glanville, who said these corners are the best bump and run corners other than the Raiders in the league. Play action fake, which was when you're running Jones so much, should be effective. The ball is underthrown, which is usually a good strategy on a deep pass, but Hanford Dixon was right there to make a beautiful play. Well positioned.
That brings up a 3rd and 1 from the 49 with 11:24 to go third quarter. Detroit 4 of 7 in converting third down so far. 7-7 ball game. Good defensive unit. I think all of that worked. Now, that is a first down, but that's still a good defensive charge.
Again, and this is the thing they spent so much time on the last 9 days, the Cleveland Browns, and their Dave Adolph, their defensive coordinator, was getting themselves in the gaps, because Cincinnati Bengals and Kennebrew, the big fullback, was so successful against them on the short yard situations. Remember, they had a 1st and 3 there, too, didn't they? It took them a while to get to 3 yards.
That'll be a first down and 10. 10:55 to go, third quarter. Eric Hipple is 13 of 17. Has missed his only pass so far in this half. He's kept it on the ground the first 5 minutes. Four-man rush. Pretty good protection. Nice catch by James Jones. They're going to bring it back. There are 2 flags in the backfield. Gary James has his hands on his hips, and I bet you anything he's going to get called for holding, number 32.
Well, he was the man who missed a couple of blitzes last week, which got himself into the doghouse. You know whose name we haven't really called here, Vern, is David Lewis, the tight end, too, of the Lions. He's a man that you really want to have your tight end involved in the game, so it takes some of the pressure off the wide receivers. But David Lewis has not been involved in this game at all.
Holding. Offense. Number 32. Replay the down. First down.
That'll make it first down and 20. There's David Lewis, once a number 1 draft choice out of the University of California.
We've talked a little bit about the tight end position. He has all the attributes you're looking for. He is a big fellow who can block, who can get downfield. What he has lacked in his career with the Lions is consistency. But this is, I think, a do-or-die year for David Lewis. If he doesn't do something this year, his career may well be over.
First down and 20 after the 4th penalty of the game against the Detroit Lions. 3-man rush by Detroit this time. Hipple goes deep down the middle. There's a shove and no flag. Oh, I don't know. Chris Rockins was defending.
Chris Rockins, of course, the man who's replacing Don Rogers. The center fielder, he's right in the left part of the screen. Hipple is looking right all the way, and that allowed Chris Rockins to come back and make the play. The right hand was what looked like he bumped the receiver with his right hand.
And Rockins was looking back toward the ball, which under the liberalized interference rules the last couple of years would negate any potential for pass interference. He was looking back at the ball.
But that was a good play by Rockins. You saw when his initial drop, he dropped to the right half part of the field, but he read Hipple's eyes and then got back over to the other side of the field to make a play.
Second down and 20, 7-7 ball game, 10-11 to go, third quarter. 4-man rush. Hipple, that ball is tipped and almost picked off by Chip Banks. Intended for James Jones.
Chip Banks is one of the great athletes who play in the linebacker position in the NFL. Remember, he is 6'4", he's 233 pounds, and he can run like a deer. A zone nickel defense here. The ball was tipped and thrown behind, and that's why Banks really had a chance to make a play, but it was just a little bit, it would have been a great catch by Banks. The holdout Chip Banks was this year, wanted to play more third down situations.
And he's in on 3rd and 20. 7-7 game, 10:04 to go, third quarter. Browns haven't blitzed much today. Might be coming now. No, they're not. James Jones. It'll be 4th down and 15. Chris Rockins, number 37, made the tackle.
That was really more of a man-to-man type of pass, but on 3rd and 20, you're not going to get man-to-man. You're going to get a zone. The idea, of course, was to get the ball to Jones. Hopefully he could break a couple of tackles and maybe pick up 10 yards, perhaps the first down, but I don't think it's a tough call against the zone defense.
Well, the big play in the series, Pat, was the holding call on Gary James. Made a 1st and 10 as 1st and 20. And as a result, the Lions will have to punt. Mike Black is on to kick deep. Gerald McNeil waits for it inside the 15. Short kick. Watch out. Say goodbye. The injured reserve quarterback, Bob Golick, who outweighs McNeil by 120 pounds.
Well, for the second week in a row, the special team scored a touchdown.
Right. Felix Wright had blocked a punt last week. Barr's kick gives the Browns a 14-7 lead, and they have had the ball in this half for 1 minute and 13 seconds.
You know, again, we talked about this so many times already today that McNeil, at some point this season, was going to return a punt or a kickoff for a big play. This is it. Now, this is what a team needs. The special teams plays a third of a football game every Sunday afternoon. They have to make big plays, and special teams should win 2 ball games a year for you. The Cleveland Browns special teams the last 2 weeks have put some points on the board.
5'7", 146 pounds. That's an 84-yard punt return by the tiny one from Baylor, Gerald McNeil.
Heart surgery. To perform it, doctors need vital information. At an IBM scientific center in England, computer researchers and doctors are transforming X-rays into 3-dimensional models of a patient's arteries and beating heart. This experimental project is an example of innovation at IBM, and it could be another way computers help doctors save lives.
When the big Q flows, America goes.
You the Mr. Bailey that's selling the car?
You buying?
Depends. How's it run?
Great. Always on Quaker State.
That's good.
Quaker State means performance. You can depend on quality.
I've heard that.
One-of-a-kind formula. Stable viscosity. Keeps flowing. Protecting.
You sold me.
The core?
And the oil.
Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
You always hurt the one you love.
People have a love-hate relationship with their cars. They love them, but they don't always treat them right. Yet amazingly, over 90% of all Subarus registered since 1974 are still on the road. Now imagine how much longer they would last if people didn't love them so much. Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way.
When the Spartans rock, Lorenzo rolls. Lorenzo White continues on his run for the Heisman when Michigan State hosts the Hawkeyes of Iowa next Saturday on CBS Sports.
We're back in Cleveland where this crowd is still buzzing. Herman Hunter takes the kickoff return and heads left. There was a near clip, but no flag is down. And Hunter is out across the 30 to the 33. That'll quiet the crowd somewhat. But there is the man who is now the possessor of the longest punt return in Cleveland Brown history. The old record was 78 yards, set in 1959 by Bobby Mitchell.
Did you do that game too? You know, all these guys in the Cleveland team yesterday recognized you, and a lot of guys come up to you and said, Vern, oh, I remember you when I was a little boy back in Dallas.
Ah, yeah. That's the onset of middle age, Patrick. Too many road trips. 9:26 to go. In the third quarter, 14-7. Carl Bland starts in motion. Hipple to James Jones. Up the sidelines and out of bounds. A dandy little bit of tightrope dancing. We're live in Cleveland, Ohio. Vern Lundquist and Pat Hayden before 75,000 who have suddenly found cause to roar. And the Browns are out on top. 14-7 after the 84-yard touchdown run by Gerald McNeil. We were at 7-7 at halftime. Tough to fight a noisy crowd on the road, Pat, isn't it?
Well, the best thing they did was return the kickoff back in decent field position. Now they got a second and short. They pick up a couple of first downs, and they'll be right back in, and the crowd will quiet down.
James Jones bounces off one, gets a good block from Manley, and has a first down at the 47-yard line. One of those tiny things that sometimes go unnoticed, but Pete Manley, the wide receiver, made a good downfield block.
You know, that makes up a very good point, because when you're going to take another look here at James Jones. Manley is number 82, who's going to pick up the block. But there's a second and short yardage. Now, Detroit has not run the ball well yet today, but the defense, perhaps trying to get so pumped up after the big punt return, overreacted, and it gave James Jones a little bit of daylight to move.
Kevin Glover is the injured player for the Lions. They don't need to have more problems in the offensive line, but they do.
Really, guys, that was a brand new engine.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I never saw an engine start like that.
I paddle my arms on.
Come on, it's good exercise. Hey, you remember the cake those guys had?
Uh-huh, yeah. That was good draft beer.
Yeah. That beer was terrific.
When you're drinking new Miller Genuine Draft, it'll remind you of the best beer you ever had, because it is genuine draft. Cold filtered for real draft smoothness. Miller Genuine Draft. It's beer at its best.
Some new engine. Can we change the subject, guys?
I want to talk to you about something that could change your life. Insurance. This is a policy from one of the world's biggest insurance specialists. For almost any kind of insurance, because you just never know when you're going to need insurance. Excuse me. Hey, you big ape! You know who has to pay for this mess?
Transamerica, for insurance and financial services, the power of the pyramid is working for you. Ever since things have been made out of metal, there's been rust. And the way to fight rust is with Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum renews. Rust-Oleum restores. Rust-Oleum makes things look good longer. No ordinary paint can match its durability, because no ordinary paint has Rust-Oleum's unique protective barrier. Nobody fights rust like Rust-Oleum.
Herschel Walker and the Cowboys' back attack are going to taste Denver's deadly Orange Crush. Doubleheader action starts with the NFL Today next Sunday on CBS Sports.
9:07 remaining third quarter. That is Kevin Glover, who's out of the ball game with an injury, and Scott Barrows, number 61, has taken his place. Problems for the offensive line. The changing of the guards. Last year they lost Greco, Dietrich, and Jones. This year they have already gotten Dietrich and Dorney on the injured reserve list. Now Glover is out, and that's been a weak spot of that offensive line for Detroit. Nevertheless, it's a first down and 10, Detroit. Here's Jones on the toss play, coming to the right side. He picks up a couple. Anthony Griggs, number 53, made the tackle.
For the Cleveland Brown linebackers are really a talented group. Chip Banks made an awfully nice play, fought off a block to get in that. And Anthony Griggs, we've seen him both make some outstanding stops on the run as well as defending the pass in the first half. Well, I've been impressed with this Cleveland linebacking corps.
That brings up a second down and 9, gain of 1 in the last play. Hipple, 15 of 21, hasn't been nearly as effective early in the second half as he was in the first. That's a good pass across the middle, but is short of the first down at the 42-yard line. And it'll bring up about a 3rd and 3 or 4.
Again, a second and down and 8 or 9 situation, or a first down situation, is the perfect time to be able to use your tight end. It's an easy target. The tight end is always right out in front of you, usually the closest receiver to you. Easy throw, but David Lewis still has not been involved in the passing attack.
Who do you think is the prototypical tight end playing right now?
Right now, it was Kellen Winslow before his injury. But Ty Christensen's been all-pro the last couple of years. He's one of the throwbacks, too, because he's kind of a big physical guy, not the speed downfield receiver.
3rd and 4, 14-7, Lions trail. 4 or 5-man rush. Hipple, sack. That is only the 3rd sack this season for the Cleveland Browns. And Carl Hairston got it.
Eric Hipple, who has a very long history of being able to avoid sacks and get out of the pocket, but too much pressure here. Carl Hairston just bowled his way right over the offensive lineman there, and I believe that was Scott Barrows he came over.
There's Carl Hairston, 3rd sack this year for the Cleveland Browns. Gerald McNeil back to return the punt of Mike Black. He just counter-punched one 84 yards. High kick. McNeil has time to return it from the 11. And is popped as he gets to the 17. Interesting, Pat. As he came out to return the punt, the crazies in the end zone started giving him a standing ovation, and O'Neal turned around and waved at him. I think they've got a new somebody to cheer for.
Bernie Kosar is the guy who used to sneak in the stadium, he told us just yesterday, toward the end of the stands here, the young kid. And I thought it was funny. We asked him who he snuck in, who the quarterback was, kind of expecting to hear, I don't know, Otto Graham or Bill Nelson or somebody like that. And he told us it was Brian Sipe was the guy that he snuck in to see.
Used to sneak in as a boy right there. Yeah, that further made me feel old.
It surprised me when he said Sipe.
Kevin Mack is not on the bench nor in the backfield. Shoulder injury, we are told. Here's Curtis Dickey in his place, trying to go laterally, and is bopped by Galloway. Dwayne Galloway from Arizona State.
Well, that play took way too long to develop, and Ricky Bolden, number 77, the left tackle, was out in front of them, but the offensive linemen have got to make their decisions a little bit earlier and allow the running back to make a cut.
How do you like your upsets?
That is really an amazing score there.
Minnesota over Green Bay, and the 49ers leading Miami. Chicago with a comfortable lead over Cincinnati. Second down and 13. 10 yards on the ground for Cleveland in the game. 10. Gosar across the middle, and there is Ozzie Newsome's first catch of the day and the 102nd game in which he has caught a pass. Listen to the crowd roar.
You can see him come up limping, too.
Got the ankle injury and the shoulder, and he'll come out now. Webster Slaughter comes to the near side. Third down and 3 with 5:33 to go, third quarter. 14-7, Gosar has to call timeout. There have been some sloppy elements to this Brown attack so far. Well, Newsome is now at 102 games. Harold Carmichael and Steve Largent did catch a pass against the Redskins today, which ties him with Carmichael. Longest streak ever. Gray, Abramowitz, and Jenkins out of the game, of course. Newsome said, yes, the streak does mean something to him, but it means more. It means something to the city of Cleveland.
Well, also, I think it's more amazing for a tight end to have a streak like that, because it's so much more a physical position. You're getting beat up by linebackers and defensive ends and such. It's harder, I think, for a tight end, and also because tight ends generally are not the primary receivers in passing attacks.
That's also the 403rd time he has handled the football without fumbling.
That is another incredible statistic for me. Not missed a game since high school. Has played through an awful lot of injuries, which you have to do in this league. A nice guy.
Well, it goes back to the point you've been developing throughout the game about the need for a good tight end and how that really is something amazing. 102 consecutive games. Houston leading Pittsburgh 10-3. Steelers scored.
But it's such a safe pass for a quarterback to the tight end. Like I say, you always like to use them on maybe a first down or a 3rd and 3 or 4. And Newsome's a big target.
3rd and 3 right now. Cleveland leading Detroit. The margin of difference, an 84-yard punt return by Gerald McNeil. Gosar 13 of 20 for 110 yards, no touchdowns. Into the flat, Fontenot. Flags are down in 2 locations. Fontenot is finally down at the 45. Devon Mitchell and Dwayne Galloway made the tackle.
That might have been a pick play. Offensive interference, what they're calling. You see that an awful lot on 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4. Bill Walsh did this for years in San Francisco. Still doing it, is running a lot of pick plays.
Oh, that's illegal, though, Pat.
They still do it, believe me.
Well, you don't see it called very often. See if they just call interference or the pick play.
Offensive pass interference. Offense, number 44, declined. Offensive pass interference. Number 88, replay the down. 3rd down.
Cut him. Cut 2 of them. Biner or Langhorne?
Number 88, top of your screen there, he was also called for interference, but it's man-to-man defense, and what a lot of teams like to do is run the pick. This is just a matter of a push. I didn't think that was an offensive pass interference there on Langhorne myself.
Well, we couldn't see Biner in that replay, but they did call that on Reggie Langhorne, so that makes it 3rd down and 14 from the 14 in a 7-point ball game. 7-point difference right now. Gosar deep across the middle, tipped, incomplete at the 40-yard line. Devon Mitchell, number 31 of the Lions, racing after it, but couldn't get there.
One of the few times we've seen the Cleveland offense get the ball downfield. Now, We talked about how Cleveland stretches the field horizontally. I think they're going to have to incorporate a little bit more vertical attack, get the ball downfield, because they're not picking up anything there on first down on those short passes to the backs. They're still coming up with 2nd and 8 and 2nd and 9s.
Jeff Gossett to kick away to Pete Manley. That'll be returned. No, it won't. But even despite the muff, the Lions come up with good field position at the 48-yard line.
Now, what's the difference between the muff and the fumble again?
There's no possession involved. It just goes through your hands. I learned that a long time ago.
Here's a good example of the muff right here, Manley. He was very calm about this after this.
You know what? You can't advance a muff. .52 to go, third quarter. Good crowd, about 75,000 on hand, and enjoying the ball game so far. Cleveland leading Detroit 14-7. First time the two teams have played here since 1970. And yet, Pat Hayden, with this possession, Detroit's in very good field position once again.
And I think what they're going to have to do to get back and get some more points on the board is Hipple, who was so successful calling the audibles in the first half, it has not done it much this second half.
He'll throw on first down. Lobs it to the short man, Gary James, who puts his shoulder down and demonstrates a degree of toughness in getting down, perhaps for the first down, inside the 40-yard line.
He's got some cramps there. But isn't it, again, a delight for a quarterback when you can throw a 5-yard pass and a running back and turn it into a first down? And that's just what happened there. Didn't waste any time, turned himself around, and got upfield.
Offenses have not been dominant in this half. Cleveland with only 9 yards and Detroit with only 45. It's a 14-7 game. First down and 10, Lions trailing by 7. And again on first down, Hipple goes deep. Carl Bland was doubly covered deep by Chris Rockins and Frank Minifield.
Hipple tried to look left, looked the free safety off, but Rockins, who I've been impressed with, was not fooled and came over and tried to help on Bland. Bland's an interesting story to me, too. Here's another shot at Eric Hipple after he passes. You're going to see him get hit. Dale Rogers said he got hit 11 times. Ouch, that right in the chest. They have to surgically remove Sam Clancy's helmet from his chest, I think. But he got hit 11 times after throwing the ball last week. That's too much for a quarterback over a long season.
Second down and 10 from the 36. Here comes the blitz. Banks from the outside. Hipple will scramble. Looks for blocking help from David Lewis. And doesn't get anything. David Lewis did not help him.
Eric Hipple is going to write a book at the end of his career. It's going to be called Under Duress, because that's what he's faced most of his year from the press, the fans, and oftentimes defenses. Good defensive coverage by the Browns here, and that's what really, he had nowhere to go with the football, but the added dimension of a quarterback who can move around. Makes a nice little move, whoops, and then he made a nice little gain and put himself in a 3rd and short. A look at David Lewis there, who has not been much of a factor here in the game so far.
Hipple pointed to him, said, help me out. Lewis didn't. It's 3rd down and 3. Chadwick, no, short to the middle. Herman Hunter, there's that 3rd down play we talked about in the first half as they utilize Hunter on Chris Rockins.
Any 3rd and 4 or 5 type of situation, you can go with the back and still pick up the first down. On your left is number 36, Herman Hunter. He's again against the free safety, Chris Rockins, number 37, who's playing in the position of a linebacker, an uncomfortable position. He broke wide open. Now, if that ball had been a little bit better thrown and out in front of Hunter, he might have caught that in stride and scored.
First down and 10 from the 19. Lions trail 14-7. It's 2:40 and counting to go, third quarter. Both teams trying to get to 500 for the year. And again, a 4-man rush. That pass caught by Alvin Moore, number 24, and he's down to the 11-yard line. Gary James left the ball game with what looked like cramps in his legs.
Not bad strategy in my mind by the Lions, because, again, the Cleveland corners are so strong, Vern. They're tough to pick on. I think they learned a lesson. We saw how well Dixon has played. So Hipple, what's he doing? He's going to his back against the linebackers in his zone defense, and he's been very successful.
See the scores rolling by. The Redskins back on top, and Pittsburgh and Houston now tied at 10. Second down and 3 from the 12. 14-7 ball game. Hipple looks back at Alvin Moore. James Jones. It's going to be Jones up the middle. And he gets to the 10, but that'll be short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 1. Bob Golick, number 79, made the tackle.
Again, remember last week against Cincinnati, this is where Cleveland, down inside the 10-yard line, that defensive team really let the big fullback from Cincinnati, Kennebrew, run right over them into the end zone. So it's up to guys like Golick right there in the middle, Hairston and Reggie Camp, 96, to get some penetration so James Jones and company doesn't have much room.
Word from the Detroit bench, Gary James has been taken to the locker room to check. Maybe a reoccurrence of the muscle injury. 3rd and 1 from the 10. Jones gets a block from Alvin Moore. 1st and goal, Detroit at the 7. Moore turned Chip Banks outside and allowed James Jones to cut to his left upfield.
Chip Banks did a pretty good job there of shedding Alvin Moore. It was only a 3rd and 1 situation. Banks was a guy who wanted to play, held out, unusual holdout, really wanted not only some more money, but he wanted to be able to play on 3rd downs, and Schottenheimer had been taking him out on 3rd downs. Now he's back with the Browns. He's a lot happier. Of course, they paid him some more money, but he's in on 3rd downs as well.
James Jones, 23 carries, 68 yards. Hasn't been flashy, but has been productive. Hipple, right side. There's Jones again, no gain. Chip Banks with help from Eddie Johnson.
I think Eric Hipple was trying to go downfield into the end zone. Again, see him looking left. Then he comes right back to the right because he knows he's got a better chance of trying to get the ball in the end zone because of good coverage on the left side. But good reaction by the linebackers for Cleveland. Very quick guys. Eddie Johnson, Chip Banks, Clay Matthews, all those guys can run.
Actually, a gain of 3 feet on the last play. It'll be 2nd down and goal from the 6. But the teams will travel some 94 yards to the left because that's the end of the 3rd quarter with our score. The Cleveland Browns 14, the Detroit Lions 7. We now pause for a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller High Life. Miller made the American way since 1855. And by Oldsmobile. Oldsmobile quality. Feel it at your nearest Olds dealer.
Detroit has not been the type of offensive team that's been able to punch the ball in from this part of the field. More pressure on Eric Hipple to get the ball to his receivers in the end zone.
Let's see if he wants to throw it on 2nd and goal as we start the 4th quarter from Cleveland. He will. It's directly across the middle. Touchdown, Detroit. James Jones, number 30.
So we're seeing a real nice exhibition today from both teams getting the ball to your backs. I think the Detroit team has made a very good adjustment here in the 2nd half and come out in the 3rd quarter and early in the 4th quarter and realize they can't get the ball to their outside guys. Let's go to our backs. And they've been really almost that entire drive was made up of passes to the backs.
Notice the man with the broken nose has taken the bandage off.
He's really getting serious now. A guy like that should be playing in Detroit, though, right?
Absolutely. Eddie Murray will try and tie it up out of Hipple's hole. We are tied at 14 as the Detroit Lions get a touchdown toss. Hipple to Jones.
James Jones is the highlighted receiver. He's the fullback coming out of the backfield. Now, Detroit has done a wonderful job of getting the ball to the backs. Now, he can break either inside or outside. This time, the zone defense, which is unusual this close to the goal line. He breaks inside, easy throw, easy touchdown. That's a good game plan by Detroit.
And a 47-yard drive in 9 plays after the short punt by Jeff Gossett. And James Jones has the 2nd touchdown toss of the day from Eric Hipple. Leonard Thompson caught the other one. Eddie Murray will kick off, and the 3 deep men are McNeil in the middle, flanked by Fontenot and Langhorne. There's Gerald McNeil. He of the 84-yard punt return in the 3rd quarter from the goal line. Watch it. Exciting?
He is going to be a threat all this season. I was a little surprised, actually, he was so successful because the wedge was a little bit slow getting started here. But he is so quick, if he can just pick up 1 or 2 blocks out of the wedge, a lot of guys are just going to overrun him here. Well, it is tough to find him because he is so small, 5'7". He hides behind an awful lot of those guys. All of a sudden, you run right by him because you can't see him.
Now, that's the good news. The bad news is the offense had 9 yards in the third quarter, and they have 10 yards on the ground through 3 quarters. Score tied at 14. Ernest Biner going to the left, flag is down. And Biner is caught after a gain of 3 that might be wiped out.
But even if it weren't wiped out, they're just not productive on first down, have not been this entire season. It's making it awfully tough on their offense because every time today in this whole season, they've been 2nd and 8.
It's not a fun position if you're Bernie Kosar.
So what do you do, though? But I think they have to throw the ball downfield.
Offside. Defense, number 79, 5 yard, first down.
Let's get Ozzie Newsome involved in the attack, or some of the outside receivers, Langhorne and Slaughter. Again, those are the guys that Marty Schottenheimer is high on.
So far, here's the way it has gone. Brian Brennan recovered a fumble in the end zone after Kevin Mack had come left. Then Thompson tied it up with a 3-yard touchdown reception from Hippel. McNeil, an 84-yard punt return, made it 14-7. And Jones just caught a touchdown toss from Hippel to tie it again at 14-all. Vern Lundquist, Pat Hayden here from Cleveland. First down and 5 from the 41. Kosar, right side. Ball is caught by Brian Brennan for a first down across midfield at the 49-yard line in front of Dwayne Galloway.
Now, you haven't been able to had a chance to see much of the sting in Bernie Kosar's arm today because he's been throwing much to the backs. But he's an excellent deep ball thrower, and he can put a lot of steam on the ball. Here he winds up in a good throw by Brian Brennan, but I think you're going to have to see more of this out of Cleveland. He's got the arm to do it. They can stretch out the defense the way they line up by formation. They should have some easy completions on the out routes.
That is the first down for the Browns in the second half. 1st and 10 from the 49. 4-man rush into the flat. Reggie Langhorne for about 4 out of bounds near the 44-yard line. Jimmy Williams, number 59, knocked him out of bounds, and Langhorne will leave the game, and Brian Brennan comes back in.
Pittsburgh looking for their first win.
Down in Houston.
You know, one of the things we haven't seen from this Cleveland Brown passing attack either is hitting a receiver on the move, and I think that's where you really come up with big plays. When you have a guy crossing over the middle, you hit him in full stride, and he can outrun some defenders either for a big gain or a touchdown. No receiver has caught the ball on the move, really.
2nd and 5. They'll try the ground game again, and this one works. Biner with the longest gain of the day. First down at the 29.
We have talked that Cleveland's offensive line has had a pretty good reputation. Dan Fike, number 69, is going to make a real nice block there on Keith Ferguson, number 77. And then Biner gets through the hole. He is not reputed to be particularly fast, but he got through the hole very quickly there and into the defensive secondary. But it was a block by Fike, the right guard, number 69, who sprung him.
That was a gain of 15 and gives him 15 for the day. First down and 10. Ball at the 29 in a 14-14 ball game. 13:25 to go. Kosar. Track caught. Looks like he caught it. Brian Brennan. First down at the 19.
This pass really has been open all day, but now they finally made some adjustments, and Cleveland is coming back to it. It's a little out route. We saw him throw it earlier and catch it. It looked like he caught it there to me. I thought he had his body way in front of the ground, but the officials agreed with me, or I agree with them, one or the other.
As we said, the wide receivers haven't been that productive in the 80s. Largest number of catches was by Brennan 2 years ago, 35. Usually the wide receivers are in the 50s and 60s for the season. Nevertheless, it's 1st and 10. Biner comes right. Good tough run to the 11. Demetrius Johnson slaps his hand away.
So you want to play as a defensive player in the NFL? Well, you try to tackle Ernest Byer. It's 215 pounds. There's a nice little dip there. Somebody's holding James Harrell, number 58. They got a good hold on him, but he lowered his shoulder. Really did a nice job of picking up an extra 2 or 3 yards there. Boom, right over people.
2nd down and 2 from the 11. Curtis Dickey is in the lineup with Biner. Again, Kevin Mack is in the locker room with a shoulder injury. Reoccurrence of a shoulder injury. Curtis Dickey. Demetrius Johnson knocks him out of bounds, but he might have gotten enough for the first down.
You know, unlike the Detroit Lions, who we felt could not punch the ball in from inside the 10-yard line with a running attack, and we saw Hipple throw the touchdown, the Browns have that reputation of being able to do that, to getting physical inside the 10-yard line, handing the ball to Biner and Dickey 3 or 4 times in a row.
Really amazing, Pat. The Browns were somnolent through most of the second half, and now all of a sudden they have come to life after the Lions came back to tie it.
Somnolent. I like that.
Oh, just hang with me. I'll use more big ones. Biner down to the 6. I don't necessarily know what they mean, but I toss them in there. It'll be second down and goal.
I know big words, too. Haberdashery, gymnasium, all kinds of big words.
Second and goal. 11:34 to go in the ball game. 14-14 tie.
Tell you what, though, this is tough to run the ball in from this particular part of the field when you have a second down and goal from the 6-yard line, unless you can have a big run on second down.
Slaughter and Brennan both go to the left side. Harry Holt, the tight end, is tight right. Newsom is out of the game. Has been since the late part of the third quarter. Play fake. Goes on. Almost intercepted. Diving try by Bruce McNorton, number 29.
We've seen some very good defense today by the Detroit Lions. Here's another more evidence of it. Bruce McNorton off the play fake. Normally when you run the ball generally as well as the Cleveland Browns have, it sets kind of plays like this up. Bernie Kosar really wound up there, but McNorton read the slant pattern and really had the very good coverage on the receiver.
There's McNorton in his 5th year from tiny Georgetown College, not Georgetown University. Third and goal from the 6 in a tie game with 11:07 to go. Blitz coming. Good block. Brennan out of bounds. It'll be 4th down.
Really wasn't much controversy on this one. He was clearly out of bounds, but Kosar, because he got flushed out of the pocket, good blitz there by Vernon Maxwell, it didn't allow him to deliver the ball on time. Now, if Maxwell had been picked up a little bit earlier, Kosar could have gotten the ball to Brennan earlier, and it probably would have been a score.
That will bring on Matt Barr, 6 for 6 for the year. Had one earlier that was taken off the boards because of a penalty, and then the Browns did score a touchdown. Jeff Gossett to hold, and Cleveland is back on top. It doesn't take them long as they go 32 yards. A little longer than that. They get the touchdown, and they lead 17-14. These two teams played 4 times for the NFL championship in the 50s. Remember the 53 games? Some of you might. Here is Doak Walker, number 37, throwing back to the quarterback, Bobby Lane, who goes in from the 20-yard line as Detroit wins at 17-16, their second straight title game victory over the Browns. Interesting, I was with both Bobby Lane and Doak Walker in Dallas Friday night, Pat. They talked about that play. Here's the kickoff. It will be returned. Herman Hunter in trouble. Not the most authoritative return of a kick you will ever see. It's down at the 10-yard line.
We've seen very good special teams today from the Cleveland Browns. I mentioned earlier that the special teams ought to win 2 games a year for you, Vern. They've played very good coverage. They, of course, had the punt return for the touchdown. That may very well be the difference today is their special teams.
Eric Hipple gets set to run back on the field with 10:48 to go. Hipple 21 of 28 for 164 yards so far, and has led them on 2 very fine touchdown drives.
We opened up the game, you recall, in very bad field position on the 1-yard line. He finds himself in a similar position again now.
1st and 10 with 10:48 to go. Got a shot put at that one out. Incomplete at the 19-yard line. Jeff Chadwick, number 89, tried to trap the ball, but couldn't.
Wasn't sure whether he should fair catch it, maybe.
Yeah, it was lobbed.
The problem there, though, with Eric Hipple, he got his feet caught in the dirt back there. He slipped with his right foot, which is his plant foot, and never really got anything on the ball.
That's part of the baseball warning track. There's Lomas Brown. Scott Barrow still playing in place of Kevin Glover at left guard. Harvey Salem at right guard. Steve Mott to center. And the right tackle, Rich Stringer. 2nd down and 10 from the 11. Protection is good. Pass is caught. And the tackle made at the 14. Gary James is back in the lineup and made the grab, but Anthony Griggs, the linebacker, was right there on him, and that'll bring up a 3rd down.
Now here comes Herman Hunter in the ball game again. And again, this is the situation in a 3rd. It's about 6 or 7 where they've gone to Hunter in the past. Now Cleveland's going to knows that as well. They're going to have to, I believe, double cover Hunter to try to stop him because he's picked up 2 or 3 first downs out of the backfield.
Well, let's see if they do. Now, Chris Rawkins has had primary responsibility on Herman Hunter, number 37. 3rd and 7 in a 17-14 game with 10 minutes to go. Hipple goes deep, and it's almost intercepted. There was a mix-up, I think, between Leonard Thompson and Eric Hipple.
Well, boy, Hipple just took an unbelievable shot, though. He really did. That's what happened to him last week. You cannot survive a season like that. He did an unbelievably good job of just getting rid of the ball. Clay Matthews said an interesting thing to me yesterday about Eric Hipple. Clay Matthews is the linebacker for Cleveland. He said Hipple seemed to throw best under duress. When he's back there, he's got guys hanging on him, grabbing onto his jersey. Somehow he finds a way to make a big play.
Lion fans will recall that 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys on the artificial turf, Mike Black, in a similar circumstance, stubbed his toe, his left foot, and fumbled the ball at the 8-yard line. One of the goofiest plays I have ever seen. He gets this one away, but it's high, not terribly deep. McNeil across midfield. Now, did the ground cause the fumble? Yes.
Yeah, they called it down. Good call.
44-yard punt, 10 on the return, and the Browns, who have had only 1 drive of consequence in this half, did so last time out. There's Schottenheimer, and Bernie Kosar.
McNeil almost broke another one, and the key, I believe, in punt returning is getting up the field quickly. He sets it up beautifully, takes a quick look, and then boom, he makes a cut. He tries to burst right through 2 tacklers, nearly did, but the ball did come loose when he hit the ground. That's not a fumble.
And the injured player for the Lions on that play is Michael Kofer, number 55. Might be a cramp in his right calf.
Well, they're holding his knee. Michael Kofer is a fellow who's been a real good blitzer for the Lions this year. He started out as a defensive lineman, but now he's a linebacker. They like to bring him from the outside. The relentless type of player.
Patrick, I want to go back just a second to that little clip we had of Doak Walker throwing to Bobby Lane. They retired Doak Walker's number 37 at SMU Friday night. They had a toast to Doak Walker, and Bobby was one of the featured speakers. And what a thrill that was to see those 2 guys who have been friends since 1939, played together at Highland Park High School in Dallas, and then together with the Rams after they played at Texas and SMU respectively. And I know that in your adolescence, you probably followed them both, right?
Oh, absolutely. They were great players. And I think it's one of the fun things about football is we all have friendships, but somehow they're developed and they seem to be stronger when you play athletics with somebody. Playing particularly football, it's very much a team game. And it is fun seeing those. I have fun seeing the guys that I played with.
You know, you said something to me about great quarterbacks in the game. We're talking about the Browns and the Detroit Lions, and Otto Graham comes to mind.
It's exactly right. I asked a bunch of old quarterbacks, including Johnny Unitas and Sonny Jurgensen. There's nearly consensus that Otto Graham was the best quarterback, at least in their opinion. I thought that was a pretty good source.
Here's Kosar. Quick trip. Bennett wants to throw it. Fontenot is deep. Fontenot has the ball. He learned that from Doug Flutie.
Give Lindy Infante, the offensive coordinator of the Browns, a little bit of credit. Now, this was set up because Cleveland, all they've done is thrown short passes all day long. So as soon as the defensive back saw the short pass to Brian Brennan, they started to come up. And Herman Fontenay came from the other side of the field, snuck, and he was wide open for the play.
Brian Brennan to Herman Fontenot, and there's no controversy on whether or not that was a lateral. Thank heaven. First down from the 14. Biner plunges inside the 10 and down to the 7. Devon Mitchell and Angelo King make the tackle.
It's always amazing to me what a big play, how they'll lift a team, particularly an offensive line. You saw the big play to Fontenot. Then the offensive line comes out and dominates the line of scrimmage. They run a play that they haven't been successful on very little today, and they pick up, what, about 7 yards. An offensive line, they really like they can get picked up very easily.
Actually, officially at 6, but that's a gain of 34, followed by a gain of 6. It's 2nd and 4 from the 8. 17-14, Browns lead. 8:50 to go in the ball game. Flag is down. And so is Biner at the 7-yard line. Well, Brian Brennan says it's against Detroit. Just amazing to me that these Browns had, and it is against Detroit, had 9 yards of total offense in the third quarter. 1 series. But they did have the 84-yard punt return that gave them a momentary lead. And all of a sudden here in quarter number 4, they've come alive.
Offside, defense, number 92.
It's important, I think, here for Cleveland to score a touchdown because they're only up by 3. There's Lindy Infante, the man in the hat and the headphones there, the new offensive coordinator. He has opened it up in the second half. He's gotten the ball downfield, which he didn't do the first half. But it's important, I think, to Cleveland get 6 points here rather than just a field goal.
After the half the distance call, the ball will be spotted. Let's see where they finally do set it down. At the 4-yard line. And that should be enough for a first down.
Yeah, it is.
First and goal from the 4 on the half the distance. So it's first and goal from the 4. Slaughter goes to the left side. Langhorne comes to the right. Harry Holt, the tight end, is tight right. And the backs are in an I formation on first and goal from the 4. Dickey to the 1.
Nice surge there by the offensive line, but the offensive line had a little bit of an advantage. They were all on the grass, and the defense was on the dirt in that part of the field. Offense got a little better footing, but nice surge. Watch the push here by the offensive line. This is what they do. They've really come to life here. 61 there to the center. Mike Babb gets a big block. Watch, he's knocking Eric Williams, his man, all the way into the end zone. Great block by Babb, the center.
Second down and goal from the 1. We're under 8 minutes to go in the game. Dickey. Touchdown, Cleveland.
The speed to get outside. A nice compliment to Ernest Byer, who will pound the inside. Now watch the block by number 44, Ernest Byer. I say that's an unselfish play. That was really the key. That allowed Dickey to cut back inside. Then you got to be impressed with Biner, a guy who's we've seen him catch balls here today. We've seen him make some beautiful blocks. He's very much a team player, and you know, you don't want to have a lot of superstars in your team, in my estimation. You want to have enough of them, of course, to win, but you need a lot of guys like Biner.
That was a 49-yard drive in 4 plays. The key, of course, was the pass from Brian Brennan to Herman Fontenot. And then Curtis Dickey gets the touchdown, and Matt Barr is on to try the extra point. As the Browns have erupted in the 4th quarter after having been tied 14-14. Matt Barr out of Jeff Gossett's hold. And a somewhat tenuous 3-point lead has become a 10-point margin of difference. Curtis Dickey.
Let's take another look to the pass to Brian Brennan, who found Fontenot. Fontenot was on the right-hand side of the screen. It was actually a very good throw by Brennan. And a nice adjustment. Big play for the Browns.
35-yard pass that set up the touchdown. Next Sunday, the featured game of our CBS doubleheader will match the first game, Minnesota against Chicago. Tommy Kramer, who is having a big day today as Minnesota is winning and about to go 3-1 for the season, will take on Walter Payton and the Chicago Bears. The Bears are also winning big today in Cincinnati, so it, in all likelihood, will be the undefeated Chicago Bears against a Minnesota team that is 3-1 next Sunday, and it begins with the NFL today at 12:30. Second game will be Dallas versus Denver, or some of you will see Tampa Bay against the Los Angeles Rams. Check the local listings for the game in your area. Matt Barr to kick off, 7:45 to go in a 24-14 ball game. Herman Hunter. And again, that's a rather ineffective kickoff return. There is a flag down at the 20, and I suppose we're going to get one of those illegal blocks.
I look at it the other way, though, Vern. I think it's good, again, coverage by the Cleveland Browns. The special teams have really come to the forefront here today and really put them in a position to win this ball game.
Well, it goes back to the point you made, special teams.
Absolutely. I mean, you need, if they don't go down and make a play like that, the offense starts generally 10 or 15 yards more up the field.
On the run back, number 51, first down.
And this is the third time today that Eric Hipple will start a drive inside the 10-yard line. And if you look at the statistics in the NFL, the chances of scoring a touchdown from inside the 10 when you have to drive over 90 yards are really less than 10%.
There is an injured player for Detroit up at the 30-yard line. Michael Kofer, who was hurt earlier, was re-injured on the attempted kickoff return. Trainer is out, tending to him at the 30-yard line. Kofer from Tennessee.
The Lions need 2 touchdowns to win this ball game. They've got a long way to go here yet. But however, Cleveland still has not been able to stop the back out of the backfield for the Detroit Lions.
Kofer is having problems with cramps and has had those problems here in the second half. Browns had 9 yards total offense in the third quarter, but they've come on in the fourth. Detroit with 252 yards total offense so far, and Cleveland with 214. First down and 10. Hipple out of the backfield, Pat. And it works to perfection out to the 17.
I think what Cleveland's going to have to do is say, hey, our defensive backs, our corners can handle their receivers one-on-one. Linebackers don't take deep drops. And the tight end is ineffective for Detroit as well, so why don't we double each back with linebackers? They haven't thrown the ball to David Lewis.
Pittsburgh and Houston still tied. That's of very great interest to the people in Cleveland. Division rivals playing each other. Second down and 1 from the 17, and the clock shows 6:59 to go in the ball game. Hipple, release valve pass to James Jones. That does get the first down, but that clock's still running with 6:45 to go.
You know, this is a time of the game where I'm going to take another look at Eric Hipple, who is, again, once more under duress. And he has a 2nd and 1 situation, so he knows that he needs very little. He did a smart thing here, I think, because he could have picked up the first down rushing himself, but he figured, I'm going to let James Jones get hit rather than me. But I'm not sure why Detroit isn't running their 2-minute offense here.
Precisely, with 6:18 to go in the game.
They need 2 touchdowns.
That pass tipped away by Hanford Dixon, intended for Pete Manley, number 82. It'll be 2nd and 10.
I'll tell you what, if you're a quarterback, in my estimation, you stay away from Hanford Dixon. He has earned my respect, and I believe Eric Hipple's today. We've seen him make 3 tremendous defensive plays without causing interference, which to me is remarkable.
Checks in at 5'11", 185, which really is not all that terribly small by cornerback standards. He's referred to by many as a very slight cornerback, but Detroit now with a 2nd and 10 from the 21. Hipple is 24 of 34 for 179 yards. That pass open across the middle. The tight end, David Lewis, finally makes a catch and gets in the ball game.
We saw an interesting adjustment by Cleveland. They blitz their linebackers. That's one way of forcing the backs to stay in. Watch the middle of your screen. The linebackers are going to blitz. Now, the offensive backs have to stay in the backfield to pick them up. but that leaves the tight end, David Lewis, wide open. So we saw a point-counterpoint. Cleveland tried to stop the backs by blitzing. Eric Hipple read the blitz, got the ball to the open receiver tight end. That's good defense, I think, and offense.
They've only got 5:35 remaining in the ball game, though, and they do need 2 touchdowns. 1st and 10. Eddie Johnson leans up, says, let's change our defense, and they do. Hipple didn't have time to adjust to that. Manley gets out of bounds to stop the clock at the 42-yard line. It's Gary James, not Manley. Number 32 instead of 82. Watch Eddie Johnson, number 51.
Well, you see, he sees Eric Hipple change his offensive play, so he's going to say, well, if he's going to do it, I'm going to do it. And now he's wondering, does Hipple have the right play for the new defense? Hipple made the adjustment, found Gary James, who's been an effective receiver out of the backfield today. But again, Cleveland's playing that backup zone with the linebackers pretty soft, and it's left an awful lot of territory for those backs.
Matter of fact, Pat, they have caught 15 passes between them. James Jones has 9 receptions. Gary James has 6. Hipple. James Jones, that's good for a first down. And the fumble occurred after Jones was down. The clock will keep running with 5:04 to go.
Really, if they need 2 touchdowns, they should be in their 2-minute offense, so they wouldn't be wasting much time in the huddle. 40% of their game plan was audibles anyway, and he can easily do that from the line of scrimmage.
Washington and Seattle having a tough battle, as you saw. Largent caught a touchdown pass to narrow that margin from Dave Craig. Our score is 24-14. Cleveland leading Detroit with 4:40 to go in the ballgame. 1st and 10 Lions at the 48-yard line.
They're taking too much time in my estimation.
I agree. Hipple to David Lewis. Down to the 44. Not only that, but they're having to, or not having to, but they're keeping these men in the middle of the field and not getting out of bounds.
It's exactly right. And when you know that you need 2 touchdowns to win the football game, and the clock is only 4:09 left in the ball game, you want to be able to get up in the line of scrimmage, audibilize, and that was most of their game plan coming in today.
They're moving the ball, but eating a lot of the clock. 2nd down and 3. Now they're going deep. But it's overthrown.
Look who he was picking on, though, is Hanford Dixon, number 29. Again, we mentioned earlier, no receiver has caught a pass against Hanford Dixon over 10 yards this year.
That brings up a 3rd down and 3. Eric Hipple, 28 of 39 for 215 yards.
The matchup again here to watch is Herman Hunter against number 37, Chris Rockins, the free safety for Cleveland.
This has been the ideal circumstance for them to use that, hasn't it?
One way to stop it, though, is to blitz. Then he's got to stay in and block.
All right, let's see if Cleveland does.
We got
3rd and 3. Looks like they might. Now they're sending 4. And the pass is complete to the 39-yard line. Pete Manley makes the catch, and that moves the chains.
Moves the chains, but they should be over the ball, calling the next play. They may not get the ball back.
That's right. Well, they have moved this ball from their own 9-yard line, but gosh, the time is evaporating. And they need 2 touchdowns to go on top. Jones and Gary James in the backfield again. 3:10 to go. Hipple blindsided. I think they're going to say that he was down. Yes. Chip Banks made the sack.
Guess who missed the block, Vern? It was number 32, Gary James, who missed the block on Banks. Chip Banks, one of the great athletes in the NFL. He's going to come from the blind side. He didn't get a chance really to see him, but it was James, number 32, who missed the block.
And I don't know that that player was down before the fumble occurred. It looked like the ball might have squirted out. Chip Banks with the sack.
Well, normally a guy coming from the right, the quarterback can see him and make a little move to make a miss, but Hipple was looking to his left, had no chance. But James should have easily have picked him up.
Loss of 8, 2nd down and 18 with 2:45 remaining in the ball game. And the clock inexorably winding down. full deep for Lewis, incomplete. Stops the clock with 2:35 to go in the ball game. 24-14, Cleveland leads it. They have scored the last 10. 49ers rolling over Miami. Boy, that Miami defense is having some problems. 50 in one game they gave up, 51 last week to the Jets, and 31 today. Darryl Rogers not worried about that right now, though.
Well, there's two ways of looking at this. With only 2:35 left, they're going to have to go for it on 4th down. So it's 3rd down here. They can pick up half, perhaps, with one pass, and then end up in a 4th and 8 and try to pick that up.
3rd and 18. Fourth and 28. Sam Clancy, number 91. Carl Hairston, number 78. That's Clancy's 3rd sack this year.
It's a real frustrating feeling for a quarterback knowing that defensive linemen know that you have to throw the ball, that are going to tee off and be able to come in. Number 91, Sam Clancy, didn't play any college football, made a real nice play, fighting off a block, just threw a guy away and made the play on Hipple.
And the bad news is magnified because Lomas Brown, their best lineman, is down. And you could see it on the replay when he got blindsided from the right side.
Darryl Rogers said last night that he's so concerned about injuries with this team that he wanted to come out of his first 6 games at least 3-3, but more importantly healthy, because he felt many of his players who were injured would be back by then. But I'll tell you what, they may not be healthy. They may not be 3-3 either.
Well, watch it again, and you can see Lomas Brown as he is hit from the right side. It'll be in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Watch the right side as Lomas Brown and Scott Barrows are trying to do the double team. And then there, right there, is where Brown goes down.
They can't really afford any more injuries in that offensive line. They're going to have to either make a trade or bring somebody off the waiver wire or something.
Dorney and Dietrich already on the injured reserve list. Watching back home in Detroit today, I'm sure. Kevin Glover is already out with an injury in this game.
Really,
go ahead, Pat.
Really is their best offensive lineman. Now, Dorney is coming off IR a week from now, so that will help some, but looks like he might shake it off here, which would be great news for the Lions.
Don't forget, at the conclusion of our game, we'll have the NFL postgame show. That's next. Scores and highlights, plus an update on the instant replay poll. Last report, we had 148,000 who had called in to register their vote, 30% of whom said keep the instant replay in its current form. 44% said keep it, but in revised fashion. And 26% said no, get rid of it. Halftime, Pat Hayden made his call.
I think we've got enough technology in our lives as it is. One of the reasons I think people come out to watch games and athletes is because the human element's involved. We don't need more technology.
I think all you need to do is get guys in the replay booth who think about buzzing the official and say, okay, look, we're looking at this. Hold it.
Well, if you're going to use it, you got to have some guys with some courage up here.
That's right. 4th down, and the Lions have chosen to punt on 4th down and 26. McNeil, that's a fair catch. And it's down at the 5-yard line. Scott Williams, number 38, got down to down the ball. And the play is stopped with 2:02 remaining in the ball game.
I think there was a real, in my estimation, something that the Detroit offense should have really done. It was outused their 2-minute drill when they took over on the 10-yard line. Now, it turned out they had a sack and it didn't make much of a difference, but they used way too much of the clock. They may never see the ball again. There's only 2 minutes left in the ball game here, and I think that was a fundamental error offensively. And I think that, in my mind, that blame goes on both the quarterback, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach. You have to realize the time very much becomes a factor when you need 2 touchdowns.
And now only 2:02 remain. We'll have this play and then the 2-minute warning. Kozar will keep it on the ground. Ernest Biner still running. Oh, what a dandy! If it had been Kevin Mack, he might have been gone. Biner's not the fastest back in the world. And Dwayne Galloway Saves a touchdown. It's a 37-yard gain.
But he is awfully determined, if not fast. So often this happens on basically what is a short yardage defense, because Detroit is trying to stop them. They know they're going to run, but he's twisting and turning. You also have to be careful in those kind of situations that you don't fumble the ball. But he is such a determined runner, the kind of guy that's going to give you everything he has to try to help his team win.
Timeout. 2-minute warning is next. 1:52 remaining in the ball game. The Cleveland Browns leading Detroit with 10 unanswered points here in the fourth quarter, 24-14. And the Browns have a first down at the 44-yard line. There is Lomas Brown. Word from the bench, he just had the wind that knocked out of him. That's good news for Detroit Lions fans. First down and 10. Ball on the 44. And Lions will use one of their timeouts now to stop the clock with 1:44 to go, 1:43. Well, I thought they would. Now they do.
We'll have 2 left after that one.
Demetrius Johnson and Shelton Robinson make the tackle. Ernest Biner at one point had 5 carries for 0 yards. He's now got 67 yards on 11 carries. That last drive, 12 plays, 5 minutes and 42 seconds, and 0 points.
Well, that's really the bind, and the issue there was the 5 minutes and 42 seconds. I think they probably could have gotten the 47 yards in much less time had they used their game plan a little bit differently.
As a matter of fact, let me give you a shocking statistic. In the ball game thus far, Detroit has run 73 plays, Pat, to 48 for Cleveland, and the time of possession is 38 minutes and 56 seconds for Detroit to 19 minutes and 2 seconds for Cleveland.
But what has been the difference has been the punt return, of course, by Cleveland, and the coverage in the special teams, because Detroit started drives 3 times inside their own 10-yard line. They've had to go the long distance.
And as a result of that, they have a 24-14 edge. Demonstrating once again you can prove anything with statistics. Or nothing with statistics. 1:41 to go in the ball game. Lions can kill it 2 more times. Liner gets to the 46.
Cleveland, this is a big win for them. They'll go to 2-2 and tied for first place in their division with Cincinnati. Cincinnati losing to the Bears today. Well, actually, it's in the definitely losing to the Bears today in the fourth quarter. So they're right back where they started the season, 2-2, tied for first place. And I still think Cleveland has a chance to be a very effective and good football team.
Esiason in that Cincinnati loss, last we checked, had thrown 4 interceptions. So Marty Schottenheimer's team will be tied with Cincinnati at 2-2. And the Browns have a trip to Pittsburgh next week, where they have lost 16 consecutive games.
Isn't that amazing?
It sure is.
But the season's a 4th over. The Browns are now tied for first again. Remember, they won the division last year with an 8-8 record. A similar record, I think, will do it, an 8-8 or a 9-7 in that division this year. And so they're not in bad position. Now, Detroit, on the other hand, is going to go to 1-3. We mentioned that Darryl Rogers wanted to be at least 3-3. So he's going to have to win his next 2.
Well, he's got Houston at home next week, and then he makes a trip to Green Bay. But then they've got to go out to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. So 3-3 is a possibility, I would think, against Houston and Green Bay.
And again, his reasoning on that 6-game part of the schedule is that he's got a lot of guys coming off the IR, and he's going to get his offensive line healthy again, and then he feels his offense is going to be effective.
1:35 remaining. Lions can stop it one more time. It's 3rd down and 9. Cozart, the flat foot liner. Fumble. Lions have it at the 49-yard line.
Now, this is interesting.
Well, they just called timeout, and the clock stops on a change of possession.
That's a silly, you're right, silly called timeout. A little bit of surprising call. I think Cleveland felt that Detroit would be expecting the run, so they went with the play-action fake. Biner makes a little catch out here in the flat, but he gets a severe hit there by Galloway, number 40. The ball popped loose. Now, the interesting thing here would be with 1:28, they still need the 2 touchdowns, of course, but they have time to do it. A touchdown, perhaps an onside kick, maybe even actually the field goal to put it in overtime.
Yeah, that's a thought. want to see if I don't think Detroit was charged with the timeout there. They were not. They were not. They called time, but they were not. Here's Hipple, double coverage. There was no one in blue within 15 yards of the ball.
Well, he is motioning there to his wide receiver, Pete Manley. He thought he was going to break inside against the double zone there, but that was very lucky that wasn't picked off.
Just to reiterate, Pat, even though the Lions asked for a timeout, the officials did not grant them one, so they still have one timeout left. Go ahead.
Well, again, now we've always talked about 2 touchdowns. Remember, a touchdown, perhaps an onside kick, and a field goal will tie it up.
2nd and 10, 1:21 to go. Carl Hairston is going to claim he was drawn offside.
Encroachment, defense, number 78, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
He's not going to win the argument.
Yeah, I think he knew he was the guilty party.
It'll be 2nd down and 5. And 1:21 remaining in the ball game. Lions have one timeout remaining. Eric Hipple for the game, 42 throws, 29 completions. Into the flat, James Jones, nice catch. Hurries to get out of bounds and does. He didn't gain much yardage, though.
Well, he didn't gain any yardage. That was part of the problem. And you have to pick up the 1st down, then get out of bounds if you can. Remember, the other thing here for the Detroit Lions, they have a kicker who's got 11 53-yard field goals in his basket as well in his career, which is another thing to consider potentially.
They've got a 3rd and 4 now from the 43.
Now, will we see Herman Hunter out of the backfield?
Leonard Thompson out of the backfield. That's good for a 1st down. He was lined up to the left, wasn't actually in the backfield. But with 1:05 remaining, now the Lions will go without a huddle.
This still could be a very interesting finish to this ball game.
Under a minute remaining, 24-14. Hipple will run. Now he'll get up and call time. And does, and stops the clock with 40. Well, he hasn't called time. Now he does. Lost 5 seconds. Lost 7 seconds. He was down with 42 seconds to go. I don't know whether he just couldn't find an official to call time, but he was down and lost 7 seconds, but did finally get the timeout.
He was trying to actually line his team up to get another play off there. What he could have is either going to try to throw the ball out of bounds and save his timeout for potentially, if they scored, they might have needed that timeout for the field goal, long field goal to tie the ball game. I don't think it was necessarily a bad play on Hipple's part.
Now they're out of timeouts, but they've got 35 seconds left.
Well, they've got to throw the ball into the end zone here. They've got to throw the ball into the end zone. There's no sense of trying to pick up a 1st down here and getting out of bounds. In my mind, they've got to throw 4 balls into the end zone, hopefully score early enough, maybe with 25 seconds left, kick an onside kick, perhaps make a play, a pass where they can get their field goal kicker in the game to kick a long field goal, tie it up, go in overtime.
Nothing to it.
Sounds easy, doesn't it?
Sure it does. I like your strategy.
It can be done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
35 seconds to go in the ball game. And the Lions have a fresh set of downs with a 1st down and 10. Left side, Carl Bland up in the air, incomplete. Pretty good tussle deep with Mark Harper, the 5th defensive back, and Carl Bland.
A lot of pushing and shoving going on there, but Mark Harper had his head turned back to the quarterback, and that allows him to be able to go up and has every right to catch the ball as the receiver does.
As an offensive person, do you like that rule? The new?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a fair rule. But this also, the clock in only 29 seconds emphasizes that maybe Detroit should have run that 2-minute drill earlier on, way earlier on, and would have had a lot more time to play with right now.
I think it re-emphasizes the point that we made during that 6-minute drive. Has a man open. Bland again, the intended receiver.
Still time. 2 more passes into the end zone. Obviously, just from a time standpoint, you want to get this one into the end zone.
But, Pat, they've done precisely what you said they had to do, and that's don't waste time with 7-yard outs.
It's not going to do you any good at this point. They've got to get the ball into the end zone. 2 more chances.
And they'll go without a huddle, even though they had stopped the clock on the incomplete pass. This is to check with me at the line, I guess. Just call it at the line of scrimmage. Double coverage.
Great catch.
James Jones popped and kills the clock with 17 seconds.
And look at him bounce back up. This man is you talk about throwback. This is a tough throw. Now, we said he had to throw into the end zone. Here's the one exception when James Jones actually caught the ball and was out of bounds, or caught it and then got out of bounds because of the big hit. But very, very dangerous. That is a real big play there by James Jones. We're going to have a real interesting finish, I think, here.
And that's 12 catches for Jones today. 17 seconds to go. First and goal from the 3. And you see the clock, lower right-hand corner. 24-14 the score. Touchdown, Detroit. With 14 seconds remaining. Carl Bland makes the catch. Hippel's 3rd touchdown of the day.
Obviously, the extra point is very important. Nice play here by Detroit because Hippel got rid of the ball quickly, again saving himself a little bit more time on the clock. It wasn't a big deep drop. It was a 3-step drop. Boom, he unloads it into the end zone. They waste very little time to get the ball in the end zone. They scored on first down.
I just wonder if this thing ends this way, 24-21, assuming that Murray gets the extra point. Think back about that 6 minutes. The 6-minute drive where they came up empty. Murray has brought the Lions to within 3 points. It's 24-21 with the onside kick to come.
Well, miracles definitely have happened before in the NFL. And we mentioned a little bit earlier, that man, Kevin Murray, has had 11 field goals in his career over 50 yards, which obviously becomes a factor now. There is no wind, so that is not a factor. What they need is a decent return, which they have not had. And they need one pass, maybe one pass where they can pick up perhaps 10 yards.
Well, let's see what they've got in mind for the onside kick. There are all sorts of gadgets. Did you, as a Ram team, spend a lot of time on things like this, onside kicks?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you?
Every week you did. I personally didn't, thank goodness.
Right. Now you can squib kick it, you can kick it on the top and have it bounce 4 or 5 times and take the funny hop.
Well, again, generally the ball on grass doesn't take as many funny hops as it would on AstroTurf. I think the kicker who can, some kickers can do the onside kick with either foot. And I think that's advantage because most teams will expect the right-handed kicker to kick it with the right foot. And so the Browns have Ozzie Newsome over here and Rockins and all the guys who are used to catching the ball on the right side of the field. Now, if he were to kick that with his left foot, I think it would be more of a surprise.
.14 seconds remaining in our ball game. The Lions have just scored their 3rd touchdown to narrow the margin to 24-21, and they are about to attempt the onside kick, trailing the Cleveland Browns with 14 seconds to go. Carl Bland just caught the touchdown. Here's Murray's onsider. Ozzie Newsome makes the grab for the Browns, and Pat Hayden, you just pointed out that they had him, the aging vet, out there on special teams.
That ball needed to have one more bounce to be an effective onside kick. It took one bounce, popped up. It was an easy catch for Ozzie Newsome. He needed to hit it on the top of the ball a little bit more, take 2 bounces, then it would have been more like a squib kick.
So the Lions, out of timeouts, cannot stop the clock. 13 seconds remaining in the game. The Browns were tied at 14 all and then put together 2 good drives in this 4th quarter to take a 24-14 edge. Lions just recovered a fumble at the 49-yard line and got a touchdown toss ultimately from Eric Hippel to Carl Bland to cut the margin to 3. And now Bernie Kosar will stop the clock. And that will be the final play of the day as the Cleveland Browns outlast the Detroit Lions in a well-played ball game. The final for Marty Schottenheimer and his crew as they go to 2-2, 24-21. And Darrell Rogers and his bunch fall to 1 and 3. But I think he saw some things to like in this ball game. Win it 24-21, despite being outgained offensively. But again, Pat Hayden, the special team, such a critical factor in this game.
They were not impressive offensively. They really weren't particularly running the football. I think their defense played well, and that was one of the question marks at the top of our show, how well the defense would play. But if they're going to be a contender in the Central Division of the AFC, I think their running game, their offensive line is going to have to do an awful lot more.
The Browns do win it 24-21. They go to 2-2. The Detroit Lions fall to 1 and 3 for the year. And we'll be back at Cleveland's Stadium in just a moment.